Justin Fields and the Steelers get their first loss against the Indianapolis Colts, 24-27. This was a brutal game to watch if you are a Steelers fan. Shout out to the Indianapolis Colts for handling business. They had the Steelers down 14-3, and it seems like the Steelers are going to make a comeback in the second half, but the Colts did not let that happen. Early in the game, Anthony Richardson did take a brutal hit to the hip. He would miss the rest of the game. He tried to come right back in. Shane Steichen called another quarterback keeper. I don't know what they're doing with him on that side of the ball. I think long term, Anthony Richardson will be your starting quarterback, and he will be a very good quarterback. Just right now, you're in the ugly phases. But even when Anthony Richardson was in the game, the Steelers defense did not look the same. Now, the Steelers defense is dealing with a lot of injuries. I'm not going to do what a lot of people did last week and what people have done in the last couple of weeks. When the Steelers get wins, apparently they just beat up on a lot of hurt teams. The Steelers are dealing with a lot of injuries, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse. But I will say this, they're missing Alex Highsmith a lot. Nick Herbig did go down in this game. He was able to come back dealing with an injury. The same with James Daniels as well on the offensive line of things. The thing is, the offensive line, they didn't look the same, but I'll talk about that in the next couple of seconds. The defense was not able to go out there and be as dominant because they were down early in the game, and the defense came out flat. The defense has come out flat in every single game this season, except for when they went against the Atlanta Falcons. The defense is still the strong suit with the team. They did have a lot of good moments in the game and a lot of bad moments as well. They could not stop the rushing attack of the Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts had 133 rushing yards on the day. They could not stop Jonathan Taylor. He averaged 4 yards a carry. Anthony Richardson, before he got injured, he averaged 8 yards a carry. Adonai Mitchell went back there and got a crucial play of 10 yards that extended the drive. The rushing defense has to be better, and they're going to be without Alex Highsmith for the next couple of weeks as he is dealing with a growing injury. Nick Herbig is not a bad player, but he's no Alex Highsmith. TJ Watt was very quiet in this game, but he was getting double teamed and chipped a lot. Cameron Hayward was trying to make some noise, especially in the run department. He did have a sack and a half on the day. He looked very good. The pass rushing just wasn't there because the Indianapolis Colts had a good game plan. Get the football out quick. Do not let the pass rushers pin their ears back. And as far as the offense for the Steelers, you can't come out flat every single week. More so than the defense, they have come out flat every single game this season. They came out flat against the Atlanta Falcons. They came out flat against the Denver Broncos. They came out flat last week against the Chargers. And they came out flat this week as well against the Colts. The positives, you have a star wide receiver in George Pickens, but most people already know that. The negatives, you don't have many receiving threats besides George Pickens. The wide receivers beyond him are not good. Van Jefferson is not a true number 2. He's a number 3 at best. Big Pat at the tight end position, he's good, but he isn't going to go out there and elevate to the next level. I think where he is right now is a solid tight end, very good run blocker, can do some things here and there in the receiving game. That's it. I don't see him ever being a top receiving tight end in the NFL, and that's fine. I still think that he's a good receiving threat, but they need more with the Steelers long term. Hopefully, when Roman Wilson is able to play, he can come in. But at this point in the season, this is a kid that missed majority of training camp, recovering from that ankle injury. I think it's going to take a lot for him to come out there and to be a superstar on day one, and you're asking a lot from him as well. And he has a lot of speed. I just don't know about the route running ability. When I look at Calvin Austin III, he has potential to be a very good receiving threat. He's just not there yet. And I don't think that he will ever be there long term. I could be wrong. He had a huge play last week that went for 55 yards. In today's game, he did have a very good special teams moment. But besides that, he was very quiet in the receiving game. He had 1 catch for 17 yards. Najee Harris was the 3rd leading wide receiver on the day, and he's a running back. He had 54 receiving yards behind Big Pat, who had 57 receiving yards and 1 receiving touchdown. And by the way, I'm not trying to hate on Pat Freiermuth. Very good player. I just don't see him being in the same conversation of being a top receiving tight end in the NFL. But he is good, and he is very good on 3rd downs. They just need more in the receiving department. Darnell Washington had a crazy play that went for 20 yards. They phased him out the game plan. They forgot about him. It seems like Arthur Smith only really cares about Pat and George Pickens, and that's it. But it goes beyond that. The offensive line today The play wasn't good. They could not get a push up front. Justin Fields did get sacked 4 times. This is my thing with Justin Fields. I still like Justin Fields a lot. Was just one bad game all around for the Steelers. You give the Colts a lot of credit. The thing is this. When you're facing pressure, son, you cannot run backwards because you do not know who's on the other side of you. He did the same thing with the Chicago Bears, and he fumbled the football twice. The first fumble, they lost it. That cost them points on a drive. They were driving the field. They were looking good. It cost them points. The same thing with George Pickens. He had a crucial fumble in the red zone. Cost him points. You could either went out there, kicked the field goal, got a touchdown. We don't know, but fumble happened. Late in the game, the last drive to go down there and potentially win the game, Justin Fields fumbles the football. He gets sacked. Then it's 3rd and 22. He dumps the football down to Najee Harris. Najee Harris does not step out of bounds. Those are moments that you have to work on in practice. And I'm pretty sure Coach Tomlin works on that in practice, but that was just a terrible sequence all around. Justin Fields had a lot of good moments. He was 22 of 34 in the day, 312 passing yards, one passing touchdown to Big Pat late in the game. He also was the leading rusher, 55 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. I am going to say this. They're decimated in that backfield. When Cordell Patterson went down, their only rushing game that they had came from Justin Fields. That was it. Najee Harris is too slow to come out the backfield sometimes. And when you cannot get a full push up front, it hurts you over and over again. The thing is with Cordell Patterson and Jaylen Warren, they're fast enough to get out the jam. They're fast enough to go sideline to sideline. Najee Harris is just not that guy. And I'm not going to overreact to one loss. They lost by 3 points to a better team on a better day. The Indianapolis Colts were the better team today. How many times will we see in this season that TJ Watt would not go back there and have a positive impact on the game? Because he's going to. When we look at the defense today, the defense did not play very well. They did give up big plays in last game to the Chargers. They gave up a huge play to Quentin Johnson. And speaking of huge plays, Joy Porter Jr., very good cornerback. I speak highly of him. Stop holding. You have help on the top of the field. You have help with Mika Fitzpatrick over top. You're going to be okay if you get beat. It is too many times to where he's playing the inside, too aggressive, and he's holding the wide receiver. You have to stop that. This has become a reoccurring thing with this kid now. It happened last season, and it's starting to happen this season as well. You have to stop with those penalties. They did have 6 penalties on the day, but that is still a step down than how things were early on in the season. So I would give them credit for that. But overall, this was an ugly loss and devastating loss because they were making a comeback in the second half. And to the people that say, hey, the Steelers can't go out there and score 20 points, they can. They did it in back-to-back weeks. They could have scored 27 points last week, but they did the mercy rule, and they wanted to go out there and basically just end the game early against the Chargers. My biggest problem with the Steelers and my biggest concern moving forward, what are you going to do when the run game is not working for you? Because you don't want to put the football in Justin Fields' hands too many times. Having over 30 pass attempts in the game, that's too much for this kid. It's just too much. And I'm not saying that he's a bad quarterback and he's the reason that they lost this game and put in Russell Wilson, because he's not. But you have to get more creative when you don't have the run game going for you. And they're missing Troy Fautanu as well, who is dealing with a knee injury. He's in the midst of the rest of this season. And by the way, he was a very good tackle before he got injured. James Daniels as well at the guard position. He was dealing with an injury in today's game, but he played very well. I will give him credit for today as well. I'm not going to use the injury trope like how so many people have over the last couple of weeks, because they made it seem like they went against the third strings of the Chargers when Justin Herbert went down. And that was a huge part of why the Steelers won that game. But just give teams credit. It is what it is. When injuries happen, they suck. I'm not going to come on here and say if they had Alex Highsmith, they would have won. If they had this player, they would have won. No, the Colts were the better team. Let's give them credit. They won. And the Steelers, they looked past this team. They did. Let's just be real about it. They've done it in the past too. That's happened with Mike Tomlin, and it happened with Bill Cowher as well. It happens. You lose to teams that you shouldn't lose to, because at the end of the day, it's the NFL. But I want to give the Indianapolis Colts and Joe Flacco a lot of credit. Anthony Richardson went down. That offense did not miss a beat. But moving forward, Justin Fields had to do a better job and take care of the football, like how he was in the last 3 games. No more fumbles, no more dumb sacks. And I know what the theme is going to be for the entire week until they face the Cowboys next Sunday. This is what happens when you put pressure on Justin Fields. This is what happens when he can't play with the lead. He didn't play with the lead last week. They were down against the Atlanta Falcons. The only game that they had a lead in was against the Denver Broncos, and they kept the lead all the way through. They were down against the Falcons. They were down against the Chargers, and they came back and they won those games. So I'm not saying push Justin Fields out the window. Let's put in Russell Wilson. It's not time for that yet. We're still early into the season. They still have the same problems that I was worried about early on in the offseason. Who's going to be the number 2 wide receiver? Maybe it's Roman Wilson, but you're asking a lot of that kid at this point to come back from an ankle injury and to come in and just have a completely positive impact on the game. But Arthur Smith has to do a better job, and they just have to get healthy. That's it. But you weren't going to win them all anyway. But give credit to the Indianapolis Colts, and today was just one of those games for the Steelers. I will say this as well. Chris Boswell, kicker of the year so far. He has done a phenomenal job with the extra points and just field goals in general. Yes, he missed a kick last week, but it went for 60-plus yards. Give Chris Boswell a lot of credit. If I had to say who was today's MVP on the Steelers, the MVP, I would say, was George Pickens. He did have a fumble in today's game, but besides that, he has 7 catches for 113 receiving yards. And the MVP for the Indianapolis Colts is Joe Flacco. He came in, looked like a seasoned veteran, like how he is. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about this game? How do you guys feel about the Steelers moving forward? They're now 3-1. They're no longer undefeated. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless.